your seat. Come on, go get your seat.
Good job. I don't think we can get on towards the corner, but we can have one before. That's what I was wondering. Did you, I mean, you were keeping minutes, but
Yeah.
did you
I mean,
prefer?
somebody else. I can.
Will you run it? We're gonna challenge you to get this done in an hour.
All right.
Okay.
I kept the agenda concise to what we need to talk about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you need to get them, so if you want to see them? Okay, so we did this other one, yes. Let's call the meeting to order at 7:03. Looking at September meeting minutes, did everyone have a chance to review prior? Do you need to review now? In a few minutes?
I make a motion.
Everybody makes a motion?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
One done. Open forum on action items. I guess this is the time we would ask anyone in the audience if you've got anything you want to contribute to tonight's meeting. Who's trail discussion updates. We still have Icedale Trail on the agenda. I'm not sure if anything has been said, done, or.
It's on our special updates, it's just I figured we'll keep that one on there.
Yeah, we don't want to burn it, so.
Yeah, there's no current update. I'm gonna try to go, if they have the second Thursday of the month meeting, try to go to the next meeting and raise the issue, see what's branding. I don't know if there's any sense in us doing anything with Sunoco without knowing what's branding is gonna pursue.
At the same time, though, if we could get the easement, even if we never use it, or 25 years down the road, someone wants it, it
Yeah.
might be easier to have that in place, especially if there's not gonna be a lot of money exchanged, which I'm betting with Sunoco,
Yeah,
there
I
wouldn't
think
be.
the money.
I mean, they need to do green stuff as much as they can.
Yeah, I think the money involved on our side would be the lawyers
Yeah,
and surveying.
I just would hate to kick that part down the road and in 20 years realize that, darn, should have done it. Even if, maybe harder than I think, but that's my fault.
Yeah, and their agreement is posted online, what's branding. It looks,
The easement agreement?
yeah, it looks reasonable to me, it looks similar to what we would want.
We can essentially copy it, we'd have to modify it to the Pembroke Township, but if that agreement got West Brandywine one from Sunoco, chances are basing our agreement off of that is going to help us along, so.
Yeah, I should know for the next meeting, I'll go to that, their trails meeting.
Okay.
Next
So update next month, hopefully. Twin Valley Baseball Association agreement, what's going on?
So, that's something that was kind of added to the agenda last minute.
I see.
So Warren wanted me to kind of poll you guys and see how you felt about the Twin Valley Baseball Association agreement. I'm sorry, I don't actually have it here right now, but it is essentially, as long as we sign the agreement at the beginning of the year, they are open to use our field as long as they provide a schedule ahead of time. And they are open to use our fields during those designated timeframes. In this case, it's really pretty much April to end of October. The summer, it's a little lighter, because there's not a lot of summer ball, or end of summer, I should say, but from spring and fall are typically where fairly narrow lot. You wanted to discuss this mainly because Twin Valley Baseball Association has essentially a lot of control over the park in terms of who can use the baseball field when. So we just want you guys to kind of think about it. I'm happy to send you guys the agreement that we have with them, see if we want to revise it in any way, if we want to cancel it, if we want to limit them to one field. It's really trying to decide what's the best option for the community.
Or maybe just like the spring season and the fall season.
Yes,
They have to move out at the end of their season and move back in.
Yeah.
Kind of like dorm rooms, as far as even the snack bar goes, that kind of stuff. That's a thought.
Can you send us the
Absolutely.
And that's within the first week of December, so.
Yes, so it just has to be
Yeah.
recommended.
Yeah,
Decision. Yeah, you guys are welcome to talk about it. It's just one of those things that really, it's a recommendation to the board of supervisors is what it really is, on whether or not we should keep the contract the same way it's going, or if we should modify it for the sake of the community.
Okay.
So before next meeting, I guess we should all review it and come up with some commentary.
Yeah, definitely put it on next month's meeting.
Just because it's the second time I heard that, I am so sorry. I did not realize you guys were, this is the last meeting you guys have of the year officially.
This is the, oh,
I'm pretty confident.
I thought there was one.
Is there a
Yeah, no, we keep one more.
I'm gonna be going crazy. Hold on, I'm going crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's Thanksgiving week, right?
Is
The
it?
week before.
It's where I checked the calendar earlier and I missed it then.
July, I think there were 2 meetings a year where we only have 10 a year.
It would have, because
So there would
Thanksgiving's so
only be one more
late.
missing.
December, July.
The
Yeah.
third Thursday is the 21st, so that's the week before Thanksgiving anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking it must be July and December, we have no meetings, we have 10 a year.
Okay, yeah. I will get to it. I'll send you guys an email tomorrow.
Yeah, confirm.
We're confirming it's correct, but yes.
But anyway.
It's 'cause I'm not seeing it on the
Email
calendar,
to
but I
us
feel like
if we
you're right
can
about
review
the
it.
10 meetings, which is why I'm confused as to why it's not on the calendar. But I will confirm and send an email tomorrow to make sure we're all on the same page.
That would be
Because
good.
does the board of supervisors still have one every month?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So when will they be reviewing the agreement? Like when?
December.
Suggestions?
January is typically when the agreement is signed, but December is when they will be reviewing your recommendation.
Okay.
So they want a written decision by the first week of December, so
That's why I think
we definitely have it on the agenda for next month
I would hope so,
to
yeah.
discuss in detail.
we,
And
okay, and that's why I think we need, like, I'm hoping we have a meeting by then, like, in November, to,
Well, we will have a November meeting. Oh, you're thinking we don't?
yeah, if it's not on the calendar.
Yeah, but so we'll confirm tomorrow, because I don't have our hard copy calendar in front of me. I don't have a website one, so, but I will absolutely confirm.
That's gonna mean drinks over the weekend for us to decide. Tease it. Okay, so let's move on with that one. Information kiosk, I don't know that there's anything to discuss. We'll put Jackson on the agenda for maybe January, February?
I mean, I think it's always a good idea, because maybe he'll, come November, he has more information. I mean, I kind of doubt it, but,
Yeah.
but I think keep it on there, just in case.
I hear you. You need help? Please. Go. Here, baby.
So that it doesn't kind of get lost. And
Yeah, we definitely don't want it to get lost, but we should get the invite out to them, whether it's January, February, or...
yeah, I think keep it on our agenda, but invite him to January.
Okay. And Neil ski park. It's looking good, it'll be there, I think.
Yes, this is where I come in. So gonna be honest, the timeline was pushed significantly from the middle of the summer with all that rain. Good 6 weeks type of timeline push, because they had to wait for the ground to dry out. Right now, it's not looking like the skate park's gonna be finished until the beginning of November. It will be finished before winter hits, because it has to be. So they are pushing to get through that. But it is looking like November. So what me and Warren were discussing the other day was we're thinking when the skate park is done, it'll be like a soft launch, soft opening, just like a, hey, the skate park is open, you're welcome to use it. And in the spring, it can be like a whole thing, a big opening day. It'll give us more time to work on things, we want vendors there, food trucks, whatever it is. But just with the timeline of it and the weather and how cold it's going to be, most likely by the time that opening day comes around, we're thinking soft launch, and then a bigger event in the spring would probably be the best bet. And it'll probably draw more people out.
With the soft launch, though, we could probably still at least have a little ribbon cutting that is in the twin curry, or that, hey, it's open.
Yeah, it just like something small, just like it's open, the skate park is completed, and it's here if you want to use it. We know that we're not going to get much use over the winter.
You might be surprised.
But at the same time, all the skateboarders I see wear lots of layers, so who knows?
Yeah.
They're out there.
They're out there playing ice.
Exactly.
Okey doke. Let's spend some time on our Fun Fridays. I know we needed to a little bit and then come up with some things. Miranda, I have a question of the potential of reaching out to community members and having a quote like ad hoc Friday fun committee.
Okay.
Only because it can give us more volunteers and more ideas, that kind of stuff.
I believe, and more I talked about this at the end of the last meeting, because I feel like I remember something about it, but since I wasn't here last meeting, it's hard to actually remember what was said. But I believe, from what I remember hearing, that is not an idea that Warren is opposed to or is going to shut down. I don't know the logistics behind it, but I know that it's something that could potentially actually happen. We just would have to work that out, which is another thing I will take note, I will talk to Warren about. That, and that would be more of a first priority, because that's something that you guys are going to start planning again as soon as possible. So I will work on getting that answer. Hopefully tomorrow. If not, I will have it to you guys by Tuesday.
All right. Thank you. A thought I have, because I think broad, I know our committee, we don't, the people that are there really don't have any one-on-one with the kids, and it is all family. But is that something we should once again consider, having clearances for committee members?
It
I
will never
know we
hurt.
did years ago.
Yeah, so it could never hurt. As of right now, Fun Fridays will remain one of those things where parents must be in
Okay,
attendance.
so we're good there, and there's no one
So as of right now, legally, you do not have to. It never hurts, but if we moved into a format where it was like, hey, drop your kids off for an hour and we'll entertain them,
Okay.
then we have to get clearances and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
what, like I said, there's really no one-on-one interaction, so I'm okay with it, but that is a thought in the future.
Absolutely.
I know it has been brought up with everybody, like maybe going to bi-weekly versus a weekly Fun Friday. Has anyone thought more on that?
I still think, to start it in July, because I think a lot of traveling happens like right after school is out, and like the 4th is again, I think we had a pretty good turnout for the 4th. And my thought is if we do a 5-week, we start
She's fine.
in June, so it's not as many, but I don't think any traveling wise, no one's going to do it right after school is out.
I get it, well, that could be damn it. My thoughts with weekly versus bi-weekly, one, we don't do rain dates. So if we went every other week, it's potential that we could go a month or so without anything.
Yeah.
Whereas the every Friday, it's creating people that, oh, well, we can get there next week, as opposed to having to think, oh, well, we can get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're on the information kiosk with specific dates, which would be helpful if we went the other format, but it's just some thoughts. It's something that would need worked out. You were there quite often.
Yeah, I only made 3 of them.
Oh,
You know, I think we only missed 2, I think.
yeah, you were there pretty often. And I don't know, some of you kind of thought, you had some,
Yeah, I kind of felt like this summer went very well and putting the feelers out for, and we saw that there was community interest. I think that there would be some advantages to doing bi-weekly, perhaps attendance might be higher, because it's not something where it's like, oh, I can't go this week, I'll just go next week, or like people, if we publish the schedule ahead of time, okay, so July 11th, we're doing tie-dye, and then the 25th, we're doing this, people could pick and choose which ones they're going to come to. And I like your idea regarding vacation, but I'm also wondering, I think that depends on people's schedules too, because some people will take vacation in July because they already know they're gonna have a vacation day there that they can use. So I mean, I like the idea of doing it bi-weekly, all 3 months, but that's just my personal opinion, and I'm not sure, whatever we think that is gonna be best for the community.
it's hard to say since we really didn't survey or anything like that, so for us to say what's best, that's hard. I said my biggest thing is the rain dates, because we don't do rain dates. So if we had tie-dye on the 11th, and we have it all planned out, what do we do?
Maybe you could push it to the next Friday?
But I think Sherry's saying we're planning every week out already, like,
Yeah, it would just go to the Friday that doesn't have something scheduled.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Like you could shift it 1 week or something if you had to.
So if it's scheduled for June 7th,
Rain
Then-
date, June.
14th, and then it would still be the 21st. Okay.
And I also think too, like, a lot of the activities were very similar from week to week this year because we were working with what we had. We didn't have a budget, so we were like using the supplies that we had from the week prior. If we wanted to be like something unique and fun every week, doing it every other week might be a little less pressure for us to have like a full-on event with food and all of that.
Yeah, what did it?
I think volunteers make a difference too, so if we decide to go the route of having other people help, then maybe every week is reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need any firmness on it right now as far as what we're doing, but I think at our January meeting, if we could come up with the schedule and throw out some ideas and recruit. I know we had members in our audience that said, oh, I'd love to come and talk about plants, or, maybe we could find someone that can give a little basic on oil painting, that kind of stuff that we could. We need to start early to do that sort of stuff, so if we iron out the schedule by then and just start. I guess we could go back on some of your meeting minutes and find out the names of people to kind of talk about stuff.
The community feedback that I can tell you about is because I run the Facebook page, so I see our engagement levels. We're in a township, so most of the time the engagement is like down here on posts, but on every single Fun Friday post, there were people resharing it and commenting, is Fun Friday still on the rain days? Is this every week? I'm so excited, I'm gonna bring my kids, like it hasn't been a huge response, but in comparison to what we get on the Facebook page, it's been massive. So, I've heard nothing but good things from that particular source.
Yeah, and I think there's a big market we haven't tapped into yet. I think there's still a lot of people that don't know about it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we have a rough idea of what attendance was this summer.
Right,
I think the community committee will help a lot with that. We get
with the Friday nights and.
involved in different organizations and they'll spread the word.
And hopefully the skate park going in too, when that's finished, it'll bring more traffic to the park, which hopefully past the kiosk, they'll see what stuff is going on, what's happening.
I said my thoughts logistically would be to keep on the same path back as this first year, and then try to go from there and decide and maybe survey more. We could still advertise those bigger Fridays and our stuff going on. I know we do the final Friday with the movies, and we want to do bigger things on those. Well, like I said, we can firm that up in January though, but it's just got to get it out. My other thought too is I'd like to see more use of the pavilion, that if we could do move some of the activities down in the pavilion, even if we try to move the crafts down there or something.
Yeah.
The feedback I got from back there is it's just sketchy, and it's sketchy because no one's back there.
Yeah.
So if we can start getting people back there, it might help some. Of course, not on rainy days.
Yeah.
Okey doke. Anyone else have something on Fridays? Olivia enjoyed it, she was there quite often.
I had just mentioned to Miranda, maybe we want to consider putting, or suggesting that could be a part of the, survey that's done for the comprehensive plan. Because there's a lot of questions about park usage and whatnot. How often do you want it as at the park?
Mm-hmm. Anything else regarding that? We did talk about committee members. Other business, big time, Kelly and Ray.
That's not right.
Okay. Sorry, Christie did this part, so.
Because I joined the same time as summer.
Yes.
Last summer.
Did you fill an expiring term maybe?
Yeah, they could.
That sometimes
It doesn't
happens.
go
Oh.
by joint.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, but we'll firm that up if we're not letting you go, so
Yeah.
we'll send the email regardless. Yeah, the same with you. 25 budget. We need to slow it down and get some active talking from the committee, because I'm gonna be at 7:30 if we keep going.
It's okay.
I submitted the budget request. I, did some additional, like, quoting and whatnot, and I sent that to Warren, so I know that was provided to board supervisors for the pollinator garden and the landscaping.
And Warren has informed me that everything that was submitted or discussed at length has been submitted to the draft budget for review. So that will be reviewed in November. It'll go out for review to the public from November to December, and then in December, if everything flies, it'll be approved.
Cool. Any other business other than that? We're going down to the budget too, and then open forum.
I have a question.
Okay.
It was mentioned at the supervisors meeting last week that the decision was made that you guys weren't going to recommend having the tennis courts resurfaced. Is that true?
What we talked about is kind of just taking a pause and breathing, and hopefully we're looking into getting the original engineer in and sort of just kind of looking at it again, take a fresh viewpoint on it. I mean, one, construction cost has tripled since we even started thinking of this stuff. So it was more just take a pause until,
Wasn't there a grant that you guys wrote for?
There was a grant submitted, and
I thought it was going to be for resurfacing. I thought that was
that's what the grant was submitted for, and I think we're still waiting to hear back if that was received or not. We came into the budget meeting with some ideas that we wanted to kind of wait on the resurfacing if it meant we weren't going to get a grant for it because it was such a big expense. But then we kind of went a different direction when there was discussion about removing fields and do we want to do this right now. It kind of just got tabled, the conversation, because it seemed like way too much to decide in one night, like the night that we had to discuss the budget. So I think we all kind of decided that we need to think about how we feel about resurfacing or using that area for something else. It was just a very last minute.
Yeah, because what our thought process was, what's the point of resurfacing it if we want to move it? So if we want to remove a baseball field and move, and do something else with that field spot, is there a point in resurfacing something that in, say, 2 years, you're going to rip up to put,
Do we not use both baseball fields? Is there?
we don't use all three. There's one that that can be converted to play softball, baseball, whatever, t-ball, what all of the things are. So does it make sense to have, all three are not being utilized at one time? Even on like opening day, they're only utilizing 2.
They do occasionally utilize 3, but there's not parking to support that. So we'd rather them only use 2 at a time. And the volume of games, for kids is such that they can just use 2. They were cramming all the games into a, condensed time period and using 3, but they really don't need 3. And a big part of the reason we put it on hold is the parking situation. Whenever there are 2 or 3 games or practices going on, parking is an issue.
But I thought Warren said that the church was okay with.
They were, but there have been issues already with that agreement, and I expect they will continue.
And if you are looking for just a little bit more logistics, without the grant, the repaving of the tennis and basketball courts would be anywhere from $350,000.
That was one quote.
Yeah, and we've gotten a couple others that are a little higher or a little lower, but they all are kind of above that $300,000 range without the grant. And then with the field, the consideration to take one of the ball fields out would be to create a multi-purpose field. So something that could be transformed into no lines or anything like that, so we can be used for multiple things.
Well, I mean, just to tell you some of the feedback I've been hearing as we've been canvassing around the community is there's a lot of people that love to play pickleball, and they used to play at Humboldt Park. And I won't go into details. There was an incident involving the manager there that wasn't very good, but so they ended up going to the borough. But, one of their frustrations was that the courts were in such disarray. So there's a lot of interest. So, I mean, I know you guys may have some things that you like to do and some interest, but I will tell you, like, the community interest is really about pickleball, and that's a really big thing this day and age. So I would hope you guys would reconsider, especially if you get the grant, to think about keeping pickleball here, because I think they're down in the borough right now. They don't know what the situation is going to be, whether they're going to start getting charged to be down there. I guess a lot of communities charge pickleball players to play there. And they really like playing down in this area. So.
Yeah, and I think that with pickleball, there's a big opportunity to engage a large portion of our community.
Yeah.
It's been the baseball's park for a really long time, and I think that's what we're starting to see, is that we want to make the park work for a wider audience. So by postponing the resurfacing, it's not that we don't see the need for it, because we were all there together and looked at it and saw that the courts definitely were in disrepair, but they were still usable, and it didn't seem like a safety hazard at the time. So I think we're still considering how we're going to work on the pickleball courts. It's just with the timeline the way it was, we were all of a sudden at the budget meeting that night talking about moving fields, and at the end we just decided that we needed to
If you
discuss
get
the
the grant approved, though, are you kind of stuck using it for that?
Lauren had said that you could withdraw your request and then actually get to do brownie points with the state, because we're opening that money up for some other body.
That would be a shame to have spent all that money on submitting that grant and then withdraw it. But
It didn't sound like there was an expiration date, correct? Because that was one of our questions that we had asked him, was how long do we have to accept the grant? And I don't know if we ever got clear.
I believe it's just through the
the
year of
council-
usage. Yes, through the year of usage, you have that time frame to accept the grant, for the amount of grant.
But then we have a few years to use it after that.
It's whatever the timeline, I don't know specifically what this grant timeline is, but it's the timeline of the grant that you have to accept or use it. So if it's a 3-year grant, you have that time to either accept or deny it, and I do believe the state can come in at any point and be like, hey, what's going on? And kind of nudge you in a certain direction, but you have a certain amount of time to And it varies from grant to grant, which is why I can't give up.
We didn't lose interest in doing the pickleball and all that, like someone was saying, and even with the original park plan, we were reducing the ball fields to 2. The discussion came up even over our Fun Fridays, do we take out that ball field or this ball field? Well, if we did this ball field, would we want to move the courts down there? So that's where it came to just take that pause, why would we spend this money without looking at those angles before we commit to resurfacing, or I think we were actually taking the pickleballs down to scratch and getting them back up, so. And it's not off the radar, it's just the pause.
So the Little League is okay with 2? You guys said they're okay with 2?
The Little League has expanded to the Twin Valley area, and they are using fields in several other areas, not just here. So
So they don't necessarily need our fields.
It's the Twin Valley Baseball Association?
Yes.
They also do
They have
girls
3,
softball.
yes, and I believe they play at 3 or 4 field locations. We are currently their home base. It wasn't that way until 2 years ago where we became their home base. So they absolutely can operate without our 3 fields, and they do throughout the entire year. It's typically fall ball where they kind of really drift in here and use 3 fields on mainly Saturdays is when they use the 3 fields, when they have a lot of games going. But that's a very rare occasion that they use all 3.
And like Ray said, that's because they would have 3 games going so that they could be done by 11 a.m. Whereas instead of going from 9 to 1 and having 2 games going all the time. So they may have to change their schedules up a little bit, but I know the girls softball, a couple of the ending Friday nights, I think they were playing games, I don't know if they were practicing. So they must play right there, but they were playing on the backfield.
So that actually brings up a couple other points. Regarding the quote, and I don't know if we ever got clarification. So when we sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors, it was a suggestion that additional quotes be obtained. But then I was told that in order to use the DC North grant money, we had to use the CoStar's quote.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So any capital project that we do here within the township has to be through CoStar's.
But you can get multiple customers, correct?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. But CoStar's pricing is very heavily regulated, and we would have to put out a bid for that. So while we could obtain a quote, it's not necessarily going to be exactly what comes back. Skate park, for example, we were expecting the quotes that we got were all $200,000 more than the actual bid that we got. So it kind of depends, but it does have to be within CoStar's if we're going to use the DCNR grant.
to use the grant, it has to bid.
Yes, and it has to go out to bid.
If we don't get the grant, we go outside. So
That's where it gets kind of iffy. I
Okay, so
believe
it's a bid.
something in our agreement with the state and being a second-class municipal township, we are in a pretty solid agreement with CoStar's for any project that has to go out to bid. And no matter what, unless we had our guys do it, that project would have to go out to bid. So there's a lot of logistics involved in that that I'm not well versed in. So I don't want to speak on it, but I do know that we do have to go through CoStar's if the projects are going to be over a certain amount of money.
yeah, so there were 2 main reasons I was okay with postponing resurface. One is the parking issue. I'd like to see that addressed. The other is the borough's pickleball courts have permanent nets. You can walk in and play anytime you want.
Yeah, I heard that was an issue, yeah.
We don't, so,
I mean, I don't think it was a big deal to them, but yeah, it would be nice.
yeah. And maybe not to the club that plays there,
Yeah.
but, or, just random people walking
Yeah,
in
that's
and
true.
play, it's a significant issue. So postponing it and reevaluating might give us an opportunity to put in a couple dedicated pickleball courts, in addition to separate tennis courts. And that could make the nets permanent and a lot easier to use.
So you don't think if it gets approved that you'd have enough time to figure it out?
budget would change significantly. I think if we were to take out ball field and look at added parking and in addition to just, because I don't know if we would end up just resurfacing what's there in the same location, or if we want to make that parking where the courts currently are, just pave over it and make that a parking lot and do the courts somewhere else. That's what we need to decide. And the budget would change significantly.
So maybe you could use that grant to just, for that portion of it or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you could be creative about it.
I'd love to see how far.
I just would hate to see that money.
Well, we're still waiting to even get approval, am I right?
We're still waiting.
Yeah, I almost knew until we get the approval or not, and then we
Because
decide.
the time estimate they gave us was mid to late fall.
Ah,
What a time frame. So we have no idea where they are. in the
Really, it's not even
process.
fall yet, yes, it's in the.
Yeah, it's technically barely just.
Yeah, I'm a month behind in life, I guess, well.
I think too, in, parking keeps getting brought up in the conversation, and we need to take a harder look, I think, at how much parking we need, especially if baseball isn't using it as a home field or they're playing elsewhere, because I have no idea how much parking we actually need, and we're going to be getting, I think, 8 or 9 new spaces. So originally, when we had discussed it at Fun Fridays, it was resurfacing the court right where it is, and then making one of the ball fields like kind of open space, because we know the Amish go there and play volleyball. It would be nice to have some park benches where people can have a picnic or whatever. So I think we need to look at how much parking we actually need, because maybe it does make more sense to keep the courts where they are. Because it is gonna be a major project if suddenly we're removing a field and putting in all new courts and then taking the existing courts and making it parking. I just think we need to find out exactly how much space we need.
And our previous park redesign plans are available online. I believe they're available. But I will double check where they're at. We have like 3 different variations of what the park could look like in the comp plan. So if you guys want to go and look at the comp plan and see what's already there, see some of the layouts and designs that they have, you are more than welcome to use that as a basis for what you want to do going forward. Because I think the original jump plan was in 3 phases or 4
I think
phases?
4 phases, but
4
it's
phases?
kinda-
With the skate park building, we've gone a little,
Well, we just
It's
were gonna have to
kind of-
work around,
we've-
because
we
one, the
kicked some
grants weren't
things.
coming for parking.
Yes, and
We
we
were
kicked
gonna-
some things out of phase 1, because now phase 1 is really just the skate park, and so you guys are welcome to take a look at those and see where you can go and what's been already kind of looked at and evaluated, so.
And where's that?
That is within our comp plan.
Oh,
Yep. And I will make a note, I will email that to you guys
I probably
too, just as I can't,
but
I
think
know
that's-
where it is, but I can't vocalize where it is on the website, but I will email that to you guys.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
And then the only other thing I wanted to mention, not a discussion point, but, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on her name. Bethany Warner, she came to the July meeting asking about the park bench for her brother.
Yes, yes.
That was approved by the board of supervisors, so was the plaque. She has opted to donate the cost of one of the benches already going in. So the memorial bench will be cemented in, so we don't have to worry about vandalism or anything like that. And once the plaque goes on there, our crew is gonna do its best to kind of keep that up and looking nice. So that was just some good news, is that got approved. Awesome.
Yes, I did see on Honeybrook Residence where she set up a donation page, but she's got some awesome pictures of her brother
Oh, yeah, I
skateboarding,
saw
and
that.
I think even a video maybe, or, no, I must have seen that somewhere else.
I don't know if I picked that up.
But yeah, he was definitely, it's a nice little story on him and how he did have history here at Honeybrook.
Yes, and Bethany and her mom and the family were a big part of the push to get the skate park approved in the first place 5-6 years ago. So I thought it was a really nice tie-in to the skate park for the community.
Yes. Good news in the meeting. Anything else, anybody? All questions answered? Are we getting, we could We're less than 8. Anyone else have anything they just want to?
No, I think
Throw in
that's
there?
good. So we should all review before our next meeting. We should look at the association agreement.
Yes, we're gonna see about our November meeting right away, so we should get that email and confirmation on the meeting maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, you will absolutely get
Okay,
tomorrow.
and then be prepared at one of those meetings, otherwise, I mean, how could we get anything to the board?
I will ask more about the logistics of it. I believe we can do a Zoom call, but like there's stuff like that will,
Okay.
if we don't have another meeting, I will find a way,
To
in a
make
legal
that
way,
Okay,
for everybody.
okay, because that has to be done
It's a
preferably
decision.
at our next meeting.
Yes, yes, so I will, if we don't have another meeting, I will absolutely find a way to
Okay,
be able to let you guys discuss that.
Okay, so we should do that. We should figure out maybe next meeting, determine the Fun Friday schedule so we can start working on that.
okay,
I think other than that.
and maybe get the invite out to Jackson to be here for our January
Yes.
meeting. If you could have Kevin or you, or
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Olivia.
Aye.
Okey-doke. Thank you. I guess this is so all those long meetings we've had. We had a lot to talk about. I mean, not that we couldn't talk about it.